Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This will be a microscopic examination. I'll try to remain, as professional as possible and not to speak about the whole horrible thing that the Israelis and their cooperators are doing, because I want to keep it concise. Overall, we have good news. TLDR, of all the stuff that I've said that I'm going to do, what I've actually done is, and it wasn't that easy. It wasn't trivial. Is to revive the Crucible project, a metal Crucible. The configuration, seems not the best, but that's what I could have done. It's an alcohol stove, but the holes, the holes, the flame should be, what should be burned should be like the fumes from the holes in the side, but it doesn't work that way, probably because I don't use the coal that is needed. For stove, I just use medicinal coal, 70%, which doesn't have the fume property. I can still use it, and I have used it by just fire it from the top, but then you cannot put this thing just on top of it because it will shut the fire. So I've created this kind of ad hoc construction. This gives us a low flame, relatively low flame. It still boils, but not terribly. Not like crazy. The material will basically start from here, from the electrolysis experiment, with things that are needed for Crucible, mostly shredded beeswax and the oil and a little bit of other stuff. I tried not to put too much, beeswax, so it will not solidify to something that is, completely solid. Even though needles can do fine in solid beeswax, but I want to use it in all sorts of ways. And although it's more difficult, to watch it under the microscope when it solidifies. And at the same time, I've kind of changed a little bit the mixture of the electrolysis, and soon I'll try to up the game of the electrolysis, as I said, to make it more effective. I should say that probably the electrolysis was not as effective as others because of lack of magnets and also issues with conductivity. Too much salt. Both like salt water and salt, like fine salt, like table salt, and also crude salt. As again, it raises conductivity, but it probably attracts the neurons, because they are ionization issues. And that's not the way to go. Anyway, we'll continue from the last electrolysis sample was actually, we've seen advancement. So why do I say that I have good news? So what slide do you have? So I have one slide from this one is from the electrolysis sample, the latest after, all the kind of, the different kind of mixing. And we have, the red one is taken from the Crucible before the fire. It's like a reference. Now, after one fire, it's not that much, maybe 10 minutes, 15, not more, because it's small coal step. So I've taken another sample, and this one I wanted to show you. I can already tell it's successful. There are dots, but they are, it's much, it's demonstratively more successful than electrolysis. Well, pathway, it's not always like that, because we have issues, with the technical issues with the electrolysis that it's not perfect. With this, we have more success. With the Crucible. And then I've lighted again. I refilled the stove and took another sample. So let's for now let's skip the reference one, the reference slide, and just watch the one that after the first fire and after the second fire. Again, we will see DUDs, these neurons that are not completed. Then they will dissolve in the next couple of hours. But we'll also see ones that are not DUDs. Again, the base mixture was just the mixture from the electrolysis that we had, several samples we've taken it and seen under the microscope, so you know it already. Okay, 64 magnification. Using the iPhone camera. This is colored with the blue stain, lightly colored with the blue, methylene blue. So you can ask yourself, wow, what is this, like all these cones? Is this like the Fontana di Trevi? Actually, there is a type of, so first of all, most of it is like either Neros or Neros that are duds, that are not totally created and will just dissolve. But still you see quite a bit and many, in many sizes, which is what we want generally. Let's switch 150. By the way, there is a type of slide that I call Fontana di Trevi. We have several of these along the last 16 months or so, which is when there is something, similar to what we see now, but they are all golden bellies or yellow bellies. This happened, after they eat, when they digest stuff, and it looks like golden cones. I call it Fontana di Trevi, following the, after the Rome, famous the Rome fountain. And you see it's all like golden. We don't see them go. It doesn't happen, usually in the, it can happen in the Crucible as well, but it depends on the feeding patterns. The feeding patterns of the Neros are interesting stuff, but this is for another time. Let's just concentrate on what we see. So this is 160 magnification. We see all sorts of Neros. Tremendous amount. Again, many are duds that will just die because, the electrolysis, Crucible stopped, but some will, even if just 10% survive, and it's at least like that, or 7%, it's still a tremendous amount, as you see. Tremendous amount of Nero, tremendous amount of sizes. Maybe try to get even higher magnification. And you see that even like in 600 or 700 magnification, the smallest that we can now use without pulling the lens, you see Neos in all sizes. So this is like what I call a healthy mixture. Again, mostly probably duds, but if just, even if just 7% that are fine, it's still a tremendous amount. And we'll use it, for, probably for, further experimentation. Maybe we'll do this over here with this mixture instead of the thing from the electrolysis. This was also from the electrolysis, but after fire. Let's get back to 64. Very nice. We also see, we don't see many huge ones, or heavyweights or super weights, but we've seen a little bit, and we see all sorts of others, which is great. These are mostly duds. Mostly duds. But here we have many that are not duds actually, which is great. Nice. Wow. Mostly duds, but certainly, even after the purge of the duds, we will stay with a very nice amount, and also with tremendous variety of sizes, which is what we wanted. Can you do both Crucible and electrolysis? I've done it intermittently when I created the full metal jacket. It's sometimes very helpful actually. Together, I've also done it, even though this is this is against any kind of engineering and physics intuition, at least of humans, because the heat supposedly tremendously reduces conductivity. So it doesn't make much sense to do both, the Crucible and electrolysis at the same times. Even though I've done it several times, it's counterintuitive, and a really, convincing alien physics argument should be made in favor of such a thing. But doing it intermittently, electrolysis and Crucible is something that I've done. It was actually helpful in the creation of the most complicated life form, like the full metal jacket, the metallic wasp. Of course, there are still many things that you need to think about, because usually the Crucible medium is not the same. Is much more thick, with oil and wax and things like that, and sometimes charcoals. While the electrolysis medium is mostly, tend to be a little bit more liquid, for conductivity purposes. So you need to kind of like, to have like a balance or kind of like a compromise if you want to do it interchangeably or to drastically change, the mixture between different type of energizing. Okay, so this was nice. Let's take a look let's see how this thing looks after another burning. Again, I should remind you, even though it's not intuitive, Crucible is a great place for the creation of life forms, not just electrolysis chamber. I know it sounds crazy, but we've created a variety of life forms in electrolysis, like when it's burning. Including sometimes I've taken from the boiling, it was still burning and the oil was burning, like melted oil, like oil that is like burning, with bubbles, and I've taken samples just from it and put it under, the microscope immediately, and we've seen amazing stuff, actually. One of the, several of the most amazing samples were actually like that. We've seen, creatures, all sorts of alien creatures. Of course, it's all in the channel. Alien creatures, with for morphology that is not known on Earth, like little bats, but 1 millimeter bats, or things that look like bats, and all sorts of like bizarre-looking insects. This was amazing, actually. They were taken straight from the burning oil. And of course, the train bacteria and other extremophiles can be created in the full metal jacket and other things. So yes, it's not intuitive, but you could actually, but the burning crucible, the burning, of the oil and the wax and other stuff, it's actually a great place for the neos to build life forms. Of course, these will not be life forms that from Earth, because they will be what I call demons that have high fire resistance. But we've seen tremendous amount, not just, the most famous is the train bacteria, because it's a demon, and you all know it, presumably. But there is all sorts of others, of course, many documented in the channel. In this examination, we didn't see I didn't see any kind of even a hint of a life form, mostly because of the symbolic language that, I use this one, that is aimed for the creation of neos and not life forms. If we would have, symbolic, that's why you didn't see any kind of shadow of life form. But in the past, we've had all sorts of complicated construct of the symbolic language, and we've seen again all sorts of very interesting insects and microbes that are created in the fire, like in the burning, oil, sometimes even turpentine when I wanted the heat to be even hotter. So let's see what happened to the same mixture after another burning, like maybe 10 minutes or something like that. Is it better? Is it worse? Is it the same? Let's figure out. So 64 magnification again, colored with a little bit of metal in blue. Wow, okay, so I think we'll see even more. I'm not sure, but just this looks even crowded than before. Even though it was quite crowded already. Let's try to get a better magnification. Maybe it's understand what's going on. So even more than before. Oh, yeah. This one doesn't focus well. I need to fix. I need to correct it. It's a second. Maybe there is the trick that you need to kind of it's like the clitoris of the microscope. You need to kind of gently handle it, and then sometimes it's just a second. Maybe this will help. No, just a second. Okay, look better now. This is 150. We see all sorts of, we see even more than before, I would say, but even though it was already crowded, but it's now even more crowded. Let's get back to 64. It's difficult to tell if it was actually better like after the second one. I think it's a little bit more crowded even, but I mean we see it millions like on just this slide. Yes, I mean we see millions. These are millions of Neos. Hopefully most of it. I mean probably most of it is dead, but I mean again even 10 or 15%, which is like realistic numbers, like it's something like it's a huge quantity. Mostly not the huge ones, but it's okay. I mean these are still pretty big compared to what you know from the Titan females. They're still pretty big, and we have several bigger ones, like this one. Let's take a look. I'm not sure if it's a dad or not. Should be said that Neos are round, as you know, they are rings, but they are elastic. This is an important thing that you need to know. I have no idea what the Neo is made of, like what's the material and what's the molecules and how it's constructed, of course. It's probably beyond human physics. I do know that it's a little bit of elastic. Sometimes, actually, mostly in crucible experiments, the bigger ones are getting skewed, like a rubber band that was, a little bit kind of like change its form to be like, ellipsis or like puncture tire. But then after some time when it rests, like, in room temperature, it gets back to perfect ring. So, I mean, which means that it's to some extent elastic. I mean, it doesn't like, it's not rigid. It doesn't need to always be, round as you expect actually from solar, Stargate. But it's a surprise. These targets are actually elastic, especially. I mean, they tend to change a little bit under fire when they are in the crucible, and then they get back to normal. And you see it mostly in the bigger ones. Maybe it's also true to the smaller ones, but just less observable. So this one might be just, it might be a dud, or it might be one that, that changed the form, the bigger one. I don't know. Or so many of them. Yeah, definitely more than the first fire. Maybe I'll do like a third one with a little change in the symbolic language. And then we might actually wait to see, until the duds are cleared, to see, how much actually we have in our hands. And then we can use this mixture as a basis for DC over air. The problem is that DC over air is, the way that I use it is with electrolysis. I still don't even have conceptualization of how to prove energy transfer with heat, even though presumably it's also possible. But if you have an idea, please, write in the comments, because, like, what do you need to show? I need to show something. With the electrolysis is also a question like, what do you show? But like, I show like, the bubbles. And you don't have any other explanation for how the bubbles are formed besides the fact that it's like electrolysis that is done by, there is passage, but it's a cut circle, it's a circle that, is not complete. So it must be, that the electrons, pass in this year, like, through the void. But even then, it's like a problem. By the way, the meter, doesn't solve the problem as I thought. I didn't think about it, but it actually doesn't solve the problem. I still need kind of like in order to prove that it's like a life cycle, I still need either to show the bubbles, which is what I do, or like think of a component that requires very little, current. I think about it. Anyway, with fire, I don't even know what can I demonstrate that will show that there is like heat energy transfer. Presumably, yes, I don't have temperature, my temperature meter, but if I had like maybe two that are, that withstand like, high temperatures and are very accurate, I could have like, presumably, maybe test, put like one on the fire, one crucible on the fire, and another, like, far away from that, and maybe show that, the temperature of the mixture in the one that is far away rises, when the crucible is on fire. This, of course, will, support heat transfer, but why should it happen? Like, what is this? Like, there is no kind of like incentive for the Neos to do it. Like, why would they just, hit the other container? Just because they can, it's not enough. Like, they need a reason. So this is not a good idea. I need to think about something more complicated, probably with kind of like, like lulaat bakara, like control loop, between the two, that some kind of information should be passed back and forth, like in the case of electric circle. But how do you do it with heat? It's I don't have like a clear idea. Maybe if you do, please suggest one, because we need to see that there is kind of that like there is back and forth information transfer. Electrons are also information in the broadest sense. Even electrons are also information. Like not because we like the information, but because we want to show that there is part of the same system. So let's continue with this slide. Very impressive, I would say, more than even the previous one, which was also impressive. We were seeing 150. We see a tremendous amount, which is great, just great. Again, no life forms at all. You can say, yeah, of course, it's because it was burning in the crucible, but not, again, there are so many examples of fires that are actually stronger than that one with, oil that is bubbles of oil. And just from that, life forms are created. Even impressive life forms and even alien life forms with queer morphology. Of course, it's all in the channel. If you didn't watch it, you can watch it. Yeah, so it's better even than before. So let's do another lightning, and then maybe continue to DC over air. We will need to maybe make it like more liquid for the electrolysis purpose. Maybe add water, just not too much because I don't want to dilute it, of all the neurons. This is very impressive, I would say. And also we need to wait fewer hours to see that the dots are clear. Okay, so just for good measure, let's take a very quick look at the reference slide. This was the slide that was taken from the Crucible before the first lightning. We had now two slides, one after the first lightning and one after the second lightning. So this one is before the first lightning. It shouldn't be very, very different than what you can expect from the electrolysis mixture, because it's based on that, but it's diluted with all sorts of other stuff, so it's not exactly the same. Also colored with the eosin Y in that case, not the methylene blue. This, by the way, is also, we do see neurons, here quite a bit. Again, this was following the electrolysis, the successful electrolysis, like the last, iteration in which we managed to create much more than before. If you remember. So we still, we have a good amount, even though not as much as we've seen like in the two other slides. Okay, nice. I think it's enough. Okay, pretty much like what we had like in the last electrolysis experiment. Because it's the same mixture, so it makes sense to be like that. Just diluted with some stuff, but mostly just like that. And now, this one was taken from the electrolysis chamber. The latest one. After several other like sessions of electrolysis and dilution with diluting the material and also adding some others. Reducing the volume, all sorts of stuff. Never mind now. Just it's mostly reference. Should be not very different than what we've just seen, because it's the same. Basically, it's the same. It's very much like the previous one because I mean, yes, it's almost the same. Just I mean, a little bit of more additional things. I mean, just a little bit more content, but it's basically the same mixture. I mean, at the same time, the same, like at the same stage. This one is not colored, at least not colored well. Maybe with just too little color. After you get used to, the staining, I mean, the black and white, the regular samples look like a little bit, like black and white TV, you say like neighbors, we are neighbors, like where are the colors, Where are the uniform, the Star Trek uniform, from the 60s, like, right? I mean, where are all the colors? But I mean, yeah, so this is like, a testament that the electrolysis is getting better. Like, I mean, that is getting better actually, and it's not like, because of all sorts of adjustments, it's still, I would like, I need to buy some stuff like to make it even better, like, magnets and wires and jumpers that will make it even better. But yes, it's getting better. You see, we have much more than before, even though less than what we had after the Crucible, experiment. I'll continue in both places, like both electrolysis and Crucible. And at some point, I'll try to maybe merge a little bit and do the DC over air thing. I need to, of course, I need the containers. We won't use these containers because of the problem with the visibility. Probably we just use these ones, these Neo dishes, like, That's what we'll probably use and hope to demonstrate conductivity. Then, what's also on the menu, I should remind you that, we need to think of a way to energize the neurons under the microscope. It's very important. And also, create a better electrolysis chamber with magnets and start to work on life forms like the trained bacteria. We need like a model, both like for the creation of trained bacteria, ex nihilo, out of nothing, without previously trained bacteria that exists in the mixture, and also want to kill it later in order to presumably show it, how it's done by the neurons, hopefully when they are energized. Although I prepared yeast, like instant yeast, and maybe I'll use it as well. I need to think like what I want to do with it, but I think that I have not enough experimented with yeast. It's very, basic microbe, basic life forms that is heavily used by humans and heavily studied by humans. So I thought maybe it's like a good idea to see how the neurons interact with it, which wasn't done, at least not enough in the past. Considering how cheap and easy yeast, preparation is, and also how much it's studied in the life sciences. Although there is like a big hornet, not an alien hornet, just hornet that just entered the room and then died. Pretty much, went under my feet. When I was walking, just it wanted me to crush it. It's a little bit too big. Mostly we've used for microscopy flies that are much smaller than that. This one will not fit on a microscopic slide, I guess. But maybe we'll cut its head or cut its tail. It could be like a nice thing, to pit against the neurons to see how they replicate it or do other stuff, which might be interesting. See, we don't waste anything. Even intruder wasp, that died, accidentally. We try to think how to utilize its body for the benefit of who exactly? Humans don't seem to. So let's not get into it. But no, mouses and tongues are not going to get me out of Auschwitz. And while I'm in Auschwitz, I will be tormented by the Nazis. And while I'm tormented, people all over the world, receive the retaliation that they deserve.